Okay, when you think of Elon Musk, the headlines and the controversies, they can be pretty deafening, right? But if you could strip all of that away, what's left? Well, underneath all that noise, there's a powerful operating system. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to chip away at the distractions to find the core, repeatable principles he uses to build these incredible companies. This isn't really about the man, it's about the method. And this quote, this really sets the stage. It's not just some motivational poster line. It's the bedrock belief of his entire approach. It's this relentless, almost scary level of determination that kind of explains everything else that follows. So, what is the method behind all the madness? We're not here to just retell his biography. What we're going to do is deconstruct the actual operational playbook he's used for, over 3 decades to literally change the world. We want to get to the bottom of it. How does he actually work?
So let's start at the beginning, because these principles, they didn't just appear overnight. They were forged way back, starting with a mindset that was clear even when he was in college, long before anyone knew his name. From way back then, you can see 3 key traits that really defined him. First, this deep strategic mindset. He was obsessed with games like diplomacy, and he even described himself by saying, "I am wired for war." Second, this just insatiable hunger for information. I mean, the guy read entire encyclopedias for fun. And third, even back then, he got it. The CEO has to be the company's biggest champion, the public face of the whole mission.
His first couple of companies show a really critical pattern. So after selling Zip2, he walks away with 22 million bucks. Now, what do most people do? They buy an island, right? Not him. He rolled almost all of it straight into his next venture, X.com, which of course became PayPal. And after that sale, he did the exact same thing again. And this is so crucial to understand. For him, money was never the end goal. It was just ammunition for the next, even bigger mission. So from this early time, we can pull out 3 foundational principles. First, work hardcore. And that whole sleeping in the office thing, not a one-off, it was his creed. Second, sell the dream. He knew that a little showmanship is really salesmanship. At Zip2, they actually put a tiny computer in this huge server rack just to look more impressive to investors. And third, control everything. He absolutely hated middlemen and believed in vertical integration right from the jump. He wanted to own the entire process, top to bottom. Now, every great story has that moment of crisis, right? For Elon, that was 2008. There's a saying that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Well, in 2008, he was doing that with 2 companies at once, Tesla and SpaceX, and both were on the brink of complete failure at the exact same time. Just think about this number for a second. 2. On Christmas Eve of 2008, as the entire global economy was just melting down, Tesla was literally 2 days away from going bankrupt. The whole dream was about to just vanish. And this wasn't just some abstract business problem. It was a total existential crisis for him. The personal toll was just immense. His then-wife, Tallulah Riley, said he was having night terrors, screaming in his sleep, even throwing up from the stress. I mean, he was pushing way past any conceivable human limit. He had to pull a rabbit out of a hat, and boy did he. When executives from Daimler came for a meeting, they were expecting, another boring PowerPoint presentation. But instead, Elon's team had secretly bought a smart car, ripped out its engine, and stuffed a Tesla motor and battery inside. He basically just tossed them the peas and said, take it for a spin. That single move, a brilliant demonstration instead of a presentation, landed them a $50 million investment that saved Tesla. Okay, so surviving 2008 was one thing. But it was the production hell with the Model 3 a few years later that really forced him to take all these lessons he learned the hard way and turn them into a system. He had to create a repeatable, teachable framework to solve problems at a massive scale. And this is where we get the algorithm. So what is the algorithm? Well, it's a 5-step mantra. It's a mental tool he repeats so often that his top executives can apparently mouth the words right along with him. And it's not a suggestion box. It is the core operating system for how his companies build and innovate. And it was born right there on the painful factory floor. So here they are, the 5 commandments of the algorithm. And listen, the order here is absolutely everything. It's not a buffet you can pick and choose from. It's a strict sequence. If you get the order wrong, the whole thing just falls apart. So let's break each one down.
Step 1 is the big one. Musk starts with the assumption that every requirement is probably flawed. He famously grilled his engineers about these little plastic caps on battery prongs. He'd ask, who required these? And if they said, the safety department, he'd demand to know the specific person's name. Turns out, no one could name them. The requirement was a ghost. So the lesson is huge. Every requirement has to be tied to a person, not a department. So once you've questioned the requirement, the next step is to delete aggressively. His mantra is simple. The best part is no part. And this rule of thumb about having to add back 10%, that's key. It forces you to be absolutely ruthless in getting rid of parts, processes, anything you can. If you're not a little bit scared by what you just cut, you probably didn't cut enough. Now, only after you have deleted everything you can possibly think of, do you then simplify what's left. He says a really common mistake is people waste a ton of time optimizing something that shouldn't even exist. So delete first, then simplify. And it's only after you've questioned, deleted, and simplified that you can finally focus on going faster. Step 4 is to accelerate. He's pretty open that he learned this one the hard way. He spent a fortune trying to speed up factory processes that, in the end, he realized should have just been deleted from the start. And the final step, the one he famously screwed up, is to automate. He initially tried to automate, well, everything in the factory, and it was a spectacular failure. They were literally sawing robots out of the assembly line. He admitted his mistake publicly, saying you only automate a process once it's already been through the first 4 steps. Okay, so if the algorithm is the software, there's one single principle that's like the processor, driving everything forward at just insane speed. It's a concept that really defines the whole culture at all of his companies. And this is it, a maniacal sense of urgency. He sets these crazy, impossible deadlines, and yeah, they miss them a lot. But his engineers will tell you that constant pressure means that even when they're late by their own insane standards, they are still light years ahead of the competition. The tent factory is this principle in action. It's an amazing story. During production hell, they needed a new assembly line, and they needed it fast. So he suggests building one in a tent in the parking lot. People thought he was nuts. But just 3 weeks later, actual cars were rolling off that line, and it saved the company. It's just the perfect example of using crazy, unconventional thinking when the normal way of doing things means you'll fail. So finally, let's zoom all the way out. Because these principles and these different companies, they're not just a random collection of cool projects. They are all part of a much bigger, interconnected vision, what some people call his unified field theory. And here you can see how all the puzzle pieces fit together. Tesla makes batteries that SolarCity uses. Material science from SpaceX helps Tesla manufacturing. The Boring Company is digging tunnels for his cars to drive in. See? It's not a portfolio of separate companies, it's a self-reinforcing ecosystem, and every single part is driving toward one massive mission, a sustainable, multiplanetary future. And that kind of leaves us with this one big final thought. Musk often says that progress isn't inevitable. It only happens if a ton of people work really, really hard to make things better. So the question becomes, now that he's developed this powerful, repeatable playbook for doing exactly that, for solving what seem like impossible problems, does that change the whole equation? Does it make that grand transformation he's aiming for maybe inevitable?